I just finished pouring the last section of my new driveway the day before. A 12-foot stretch of reinforced concrete I did myself, rebar and all. It was the kind of job you take pride in, the kind you don't rush, the kind that hurts your back but feels good when it's done right. Then it rained all night. That heavy spring rain Colorado gets, the kind that doesn't ask permission and sure doesn't care about curing concrete. So I was up at 5, checking the tarp, making sure the forms held, and hoping the slab could finish setting. By 10, the sky had settled into a soft drizzle, nothing dramatic, just steady. I was finally sitting down in the shop, nursing a cup of coffee and the kind of quiet you only get when everything smells like wet lumber and fresh cement. Then I heard a loud crunch, followed by that awful scraping sound of metal against something it shouldn't be against, then tires spinning, stuck in something soft. I froze. No crew was scheduled, no deliveries. My property's off a private road, with 2 big no HOA access signs on the side trail. When I stepped out, what I saw stopped me cold. A white luxury SUV, halfway sunk into the curing concrete, its nose wedged deep into the slab. Rear wheels lifted like it had tried to launch and failed. The concrete was shredded, 2 long trenches cutting through the surface right down to the base layer. And standing beside it, umbrella in hand and face full of smug detachment, was Karen Aldridge, president of the Twin Pines Homeowners Association. We'd spoken maybe twice before, both times ending with me wishing I'd just ignored her. She didn't even flinch. "Oh, good," she said, like she was expecting valet service. I was wondering when someone would show up. I blinked. "Someone? This is my land. What the hell are you doing here?" "My Range Rover bottomed out at the Twin Pines gate," she said casually, gesturing vaguely toward the back road. Gravel was soft. I couldn't get through, but I remembered this side path. "You mean the locked and posted side path?" I asked. She shrugged. The lock looked rusted. I figured it was abandoned. I was in a hurry. I walked around the vehicle slowly, taking in the damage. The concrete was toast. You could see where the undercarriage had hit and twisted the rebar. There was fluid leaking underneath, looked like transmission or differential fluid. "You're trespassing," I said flatly. "And you've just ruined over $2,000 worth of curing concrete." Karen scoffed, glancing at the mess like it was my fault for putting it there. "Well, maybe you should have had a barrier up. Someone could have been hurt." "There was a chain," I said. "You cut it." "I did no such thing." I turned toward the grass. There it was, the broken lock, cleanly cut. Bolt cutters were still wet and sitting a few feet away. For the first time, she looked mildly uneasy. "I thought this was public access," she said. "It's not. It's marked. It's on my deed. You know this." She leaned against the SUV hood like she was catching her breath, trying to regain control. "Well, what's done is done," she said. "Let's be reasonable. If your concrete wasn't so soft, this wouldn't have happened. Maybe we can talk insurance." "You're going to pay for every inch of this," I said, stepping closer. "And you're towing this thing out of here before the concrete sets around your wheels." She waved her hand dismissively. "Let's not be dramatic. It's not that bad. And frankly, I think we need to talk about what your insurance will cover. My vehicle is going to need serious repairs." "You're on private property," I said. "You broke in. You caused the damage. You're lucky I'm not calling the sheriff right now." She smiled like I'd just invited her to brunch. "Go ahead. I'd love to explain how you endangered the community by blocking an emergency route." That's when I realized what she was doing. She wasn't just trying to shift blame, she was positioning this like it was her HOA's right to be here. Like I was the one in the wrong. This wasn't clumsy entitlement anymore. This was a strategy. Tow truck showed up 2 hours later. Poor guy looked like he was pulling a tank out of a swamp. Karen spent most of the time pacing under her umbrella, shouting into her phone, saying things like, "The driveway wasn't marked properly. He's liable," loud enough for me to hear from across the shop. I didn't say a word. I just watched. After the Range Rover was finally hauled out, concrete cracked and tire ruts hardened into ruin. Karen walked right up to me like she was closing a deal. "I hope you plan to file a claim through your contractor's insurance." "I am the contractor," I said. She blinked. "Well, then I suppose it's your business's responsibility. You didn't post any hazard notices. There were no trespassing signs. You cut a chain." She sighed like I was being unreasonable. It wasn't about trespassing. It was an emergency. I had no other way to get into Twin Pines. You decided your inconvenience justified damaging my land. I decided I had no choice, she snapped. We stared at each other. Then she jabbed a finger toward my truck, parked nearby. Then maybe we'll resolve this formally. Our attorney says your site wasn't properly marked. Your negligence damaged my vehicle. I'll be expecting reimbursement. Or, she looked at the truck, you can hand that over instead. A fair compromise, all things considered. I laughed. A full, real, can't believe you just said that laugh. You want my truck? The HOA board supports me on this. Oh, I'm sure they do, I said. And I'm sure they'll be real helpful when I file charges for criminal trespass, destruction of property, and unlawful entry. You're being hostile. I'm being accurate. That night, I got the email demand letter from Twin Pines HOA lawyer, accusing me of unsafe construction, emotional harm, and suggesting I provide my truck or insurance payout to cover Karen's vehicle. I didn't reply. I pulled the shop drive, backed up the footage 4 angles, every second of her cutting the lock, driving over the signs, and burying her SUV in wet concrete. I added stills, timestamps, and a statement. No emotion, just facts. Then I handed it to Maya Hart, my lawyer. She took one look at the video and said, "She wants your truck? Is there a head injury involved here?" Maya drafted a cease and desist, a counterclaim for damages, and a letter demanding immediate withdrawal of Karen's accusations. We also dropped a copy at the sheriff's office, just to have it on record. But Karen didn't back down. She doubled down. She posted a photo of her car being towed from my land, claiming I'd blocked emergency access and endangered public safety. The HOA forum lit up with comments, some sympathetic, some skeptical. Then came the protest. Yep, a full-blown HOA gathering on the public edge of my property, speakers, signs, even pamphlets. Karen got up and gave a speech about shared community resources and historical access routes. I stood in my garage, concrete still on my gloves, watching this woman try to turn my ruined driveway into a stage for her power play. The next morning, someone parked an SUV nose-to-nose with my truck, blocking it in, and left a printed note. Unauthorized vehicle in disputed access zone may be subject to removal. Deputy Langley showed up when I called. He took one look and said, "This is starting to look like targeted harassment. Document everything. We're close to criminal charges." But Karen wasn't done. She filed a petition with the county to reclassify my side driveway as public emergency access. Included a forged map with a forged signature mine. That crossed the line. We filed an injunction, dropped copies at the courthouse, and taped one to the new steel barricades I installed at the edge of my land. The next time Karen showed up with a clipboard and a cleanup crew, waving her fake permit, I handed her the sealed injunction and said, "You have no authority here." One of her crew glanced at her and said, "You didn't say this was contested." They packed up and left. You'd think that would be the end. But no. 2 mornings later, a tow truck reversed halfway into my driveway. Karen stood beside it, gesturing toward my Ford like she was orchestrating a symphony. "You called this tow?" I asked, phone recording already. "Sure did," she snapped. "It's obstructing a community route. It's on my land. This map proves otherwise. It's fake. And you know it." I didn't need to call. The sheriff showed up on his own. Deputy Nunez took one look and told the tow guy to unhook and go. Then turned to Karen and said, "One more false claim, and I'll arrest you myself." Karen stormed off. Days later, she posted again, organizing a rally for access. This time, she crossed my boundary with folding tables, speakers, and a banner that read, "Oakwind deserves access." That was the last straw. I walked to the fence and said, "You've got 60 seconds to take that down, or I'm calling the sheriff." She waved a document with my signature, except I knew what it was. A work order from 2 years ago. Nothing to do with land access. I called her out on it in front of everyone. "You're using a driveway repair receipt as forged consent." Just then, the deputies arrived. Nunez again, this time with another officer and a clipboard. "This gathering violates a court injunction," he said loudly. "Disperse now or face charges." Karen protested. "This is peaceful assembly. On private land. Under court protection." 15 minutes later, the field was empty. At the final hearing, the judge didn't hesitate. Karen was found guilty of document fraud, trespassing, and defamation. Ordered to pay over 94 grand in damages and referred to the DA for criminal charges. Her Range Rover? Repossessed when she missed her first payment. I bought it at auction. Mounted it next to my newly poured concrete on cinder blocks with a sign that says, private property, no trespassing, and a license plate that reads, for HOA use only. Now I'm curious, what would you have done? Was I too patient? Or not enough? Drop a comment below. Tell me where you stand. Have you ever had to deal with HOA power plays like this? Because if not, trust me, they're out there.